All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Executive IAS. Today, as you can see on the board, we are going to start with PT365 of International Relations. This lecture will be very comprehensive. It will include various facets of international relation. Mainly, we will be dealing with the current affairs aspect of international relation. Plus, we will also see some of the PYQs which was already asked related to few topics, right? So that we can make sure that we focus on important topics more. All right. So with this, let's get started. All right. So there are total of approx 5 topics. All right, with this subtopics 5.12. So we will be seeing it very crisply to the point, very important for our preliminary examination. All right, so let's get started with the first topic, that is multilateral organizations. All right, and when we talk about multilateral organization, the first organization is United Nations. All right, so why United Nation is in news? So recently, there is a 49th group of G7 summit where India questioned the United Nations ability to effectively prevent conflict. So this is the news. All right. So there was a 49th group meeting of G7 summit where India has questioned the United Nations ability to effectively prevent the conflict. Right. So the context here is the Russia-Ukraine war, which the UN has failed to prevent. All right, so now let's see some of the important facts which are important for the preliminary examination. So United Nations is based in New York, United States. It has been established in 1945, the post World War II era. Post World War II era. All right, post World War II, right? So United Nations organization whose primary role is to maintain world peace and security. The main aim of United Nations is to maintain the world peace and security, right? There are how many members, right? So as we know that there are 193 total membership of the United Nations General Assembly. So there is 193 members of United Nations as well, right? So the last country which joined the United Nations is South Sudan in 2011. All right. India is also one of the founding members of United Nations, though we have ratified the UN Charter on later date, but we are still a member of United Nations. All right. So there are total 6 principal organs of United Nations. This is very basic. Might not be asked in directly in preliminary examination, but questions related to the sub body and subcommittees can be asked. As we will see, here is a question which has been asked from one of the topics. All right, so what are the 6 different organs of United Nations? So the first one is General Assembly, United Nations General Assembly, right? You might all be aware about United Nations General Assembly. 193 members are the part of United Nations General Assembly. The second one is United Nations Security Council. The third one is United Nations International Court of Justice, right? Can you guys tell me where is ICJ based in, right? So the country is Netherlands. You have to comment the place where ICJ is based in, all right? The fourth organ is Secretariat. The fifth one is Trusteeship Council. And sixth one is United Nations Economic and Social Council, all right? So now let's see one of the questions that has been asked from this particular organs, all right? One of the organs. Yeah. So this is the question, as you can see here. With reference to United Nations General Assembly, consider the following statements. All right. We have to tell the following statement whether it is correct or not in regards to United Nations General Assembly. All right. So the UN General Assembly can grant observer status to the non-member states. The second option is international intergovernmental organization, that is IGOs, can seek observer status in the UN General Assembly. All right. The third option is permanent observers in the United Nations General Assembly can maintain mission at the UN headquarters. So you have to tell me which option is the correct one. All right. So the correct answer is, of course, all of the three statements are absolutely correct. All right. So try looking at this particular question and we can know how important this particular topic becomes, because there are direct questions which has been already asked from the United Nations General Assembly, and also some of the subtopics under each of the six organs. Right now, let's have a look up some of the important flagship reports which is basically released by United Nations and various committees of United Nations. So the first report is United Nations Environment Outlook. It is released by United Nations Environment Program, right? So what is the significance of various reports? They can directly ask in the match the followings, right? So they will give you a report, then the releasing organization, and they will ask you how many pairs are correctly matched, right? That is why it becomes important to have a look of the flagship reports of UN and also the organizations. All right. The first and foremost report is a Global Environment Outlook. It is released by United Nations Environment Program. The second report is United Nations Human Development Report. It is basically released by United Nations Development Program. The third one is Industrial Development Report. It is basically released by UN Industrial Development Organization. The fourth one is a State of the World Children Report, that is released by UNICEF. Right, then World Cities Report, UN Habitat. State of World Population, right? It is released by United Nations Population Fund, UNPF. All right. Then World Economic and Social Survey. All right. It is released by UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs. World Economic Situation and Prospects. All right. Then World Investment Report. It is released by UNCTAD. All right. And World of Work, that is International Labor Organization. So these are some of the flagship report. We must know the reports and the organization responsible for the release of the report. All right. Now let's see some of the important treatises under United Nations, right? So there are important pillars of United Nations, of which human right is one of the very important pillar. Refugees and the crisis of refugees is another important pillar. Then penal matters, terrorism, loss of the sea, and disarmament. These are some of the important pillars, and these are various treatises under each pillar of the United Nations, right? Not very important, but just have a gist of the each and every treatises, because in 2022 there was a question asked from UN clause, right? So in last year, last year, that is 2022, a United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas was in the news, right? Because we were setting some special economic zone in the coastal areas, right? That is why UN clause was very important, and that is why the question was directly asked from this particular topic. So the question was, if I have to show you this question, as you can see here, all right, with reference to UN clause, that is United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas, consider the following statements. The first option was, a coastal state has the right to establish the breadth of territorial sea up to a limit not extending 12 nautical miles, measured from baseline determined in accordance with the convention. All right, absolutely right statement. The second option is, ships of all states, whether coastal or landlocked, enjoy the right of innocent passage through the territorial sea. All right, very true statement. The third one is, the exclusive economic zone shall not extend beyond 200 nautical miles from the baseline from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured. So as we all know that all the three option is correct. So here option D will be the right answer, right? So this question has been asked directly from one of the treatises under the law of the sea. So have a basic idea about all the treatises mentioned here. All right. Now there is a recent news related to UN Charter, right? And the news which is in concern is Article 99 of UN Charter. So what is 99? So Article 99 basically states that the Secretary General may bring to the attention of the Security Council any matter which, in his opinion, may threaten the maintenance of international peace and security. Again, in context of the recent Russia-Ukraine war and again the Israel-Palestinian issue. All right. So the UN Secretary General invoked Article 99 of UN Charter to warn UN Security Council of impending humanitarian crisis in Gaza, right? And what is Article 99? It is basically states that it gives the power to Secretary General to bring to the attention of Security Council any matter which, in his opinion, may threaten the maintenance of international peace and security. All right. So the important part is that until now, the Article 99 of UN Charter has been invoked on only 4 occasions in the past. All right. That is why Article 99 of UN Charter becomes very, very important. All right. So UN Charter is founding document of United Nations, signed in 1945 in San Francisco, right? So the San Francisco Conference, right, which is a kind of precursor of the United Nations, right? Under San Francisco Conference, the United Nations was established. So in the same conference, the UN Charter was signed, out of which Article 99 is very, very crucial because it has been it has been used only 4 times in the past. All right. It codifies major principles of international relations like sovereign, equality of states, and etc. Right. So that is all about the United Nations and United Nations Charter. Now the next topic is UNESCO. Again, it is also a body under United Nations. And why UNESCO is in news? So UNESCO is in news because the US, which the US who basically left the UNESCO, has rejoined the UNESCO after 5 years absence by proposing to pay its due of more than 600 millions. Not very important, but just have the idea that US now joined back the UNESCO. That is why from 193 countries, now there are total 194 countries in the UNESCO. UNESCO is headquartered at Paris, that is France. All right. So it is a specialized agency of UN. Again, it is established in the same year, that is 1945. And what is the main aim of UNESCO? It contributes to peace and security by promoting international cooperation in education, sciences, culture, communication, and information. All right. So this is the main aim of UNESCO. Let me reiterate it once again. What is the main aim? The main aim is to contribute to peace and security by promoting international cooperation in education, science, culture, communication, and information. Right. Total number of members are 194 and 12 associate members. All right. So composition not very important, but just have the idea. It basically comprises of a secretariat headed by Director General, implements the decision of General Conference and Executive Board, right? So what are few of the objectives of UNESCO? So the first and foremost objective is attaining quality education for all and lifelong learning, right? The second one is addressing emerging social and ethical challenges. The third one is mobilizing science, knowledge, and policy for sustainable development. The fourth one is fostering cultural diversity, intercultural dialogue, and culture of peace. The fifth one is building inclusive knowledge society through information and communication. All right. So there are two very important awards related to UNESCO, which UNESCO gives in order to promote its objective and aims, right? The first award is UNESCO Asia Pacific Awards for Cultural Heritage Conservation Program. All right. Again, they can ask you in the prelims that Asia Pacific Awards for Cultural Heritage Conservation Program belongs to which organization? Again, it belongs to UNESCO, right? So it is awarded to private individuals and organization. The second important award is UNESCO Felix Houphouët-Boigny Peace Prize again, right? So it is again awarded to living individuals, active institution for promoting peace. Living in individuals, in the sense it cannot be awarded posthumously, right? The people who die, they cannot be awarded with UNESCO Felix Houphouet Boigny Peace Prize. All right. So these are two important awards of UNESCO, right? So now let's see some of the important reports of UNESCO. All right. So the most important report is Global Education Monitoring Report. All right. The second report is Global Report on Culture for Sustainable Urban Development. The third one is Global Ocean Science Report. The fourth one is a United Nations World Water Development Report. Right. So in prelims examination, they can ask you which report is published by UNESCO, right? Or they will mismatch the option and they will give you. So most people might get confused that Global Ocean Science Report might be released by International Meteorological Organization, right? But no, that is not true. It is basically released by UNESCO. Similarly, with United Nations World Water Development Program Development Report, it is also released by UNESCO and not the World Meteorological Organization or United Nations Environment Program. No, it is released by UNESCO. So keep that in mind. All right. So now let's see some of the key achievements of UNESCO. What are some of the important achievements of UNESCO? So UNESCO preserves 1199 World Heritage Sites in 168 countries, right? It is very, very significant because UNESCO preserves approx 1200 World Heritage Sites in 168 countries, right? And recently, the Garba dance from Gujarat has been enlisted as an intangible heritage under the UNESCO, right? That is why it becomes very, very important. Now, the Intangible Heritage Convention has 177 states parties to it and is supporting innumerable cultural heritages, right? And recently, the Garba is part of Intangible Heritage Convention of UNESCO. So, UNESCO's Education for All initiative has contributed to significant progress in global education. So, which particular initiative of UNESCO is responsible for global education? Basically, UNESCO's Education for All initiative, right? UNESCO Education for All initiative is responsible for progress in global education. All right. So there is one more initiative. It is basically the Media Development Indicators, right? MDI, Media Development Indicators. It provides a framework to assess media landscapes in the sense how the media and various institutions of media, they are operating in each countries in order to promote the global information and education. A separate list of World Heritages in danger is maintained by World Heritage Committees and has 55 cities sites as of 2023, right? So there is a separate list by name World Heritages in danger, and they have given importance emphasis by the UNESCO, and there are total 55 sites as of 2023 under the World Heritages in danger, right? So one of the very important related news of UNESCO is that India is recently re-elected as a president of Asia Pacific Institution for Broadcasting Development, right? Re-elected as president. So Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development, that is AIBD, is headquartered in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, right? Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. So it was established in 1977 under United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that is UNESCO. All right. So what are the other founding organizations? So there is ITU, that is International Telecommunication Union, and UN Development Program, United Nations Development Program. They are also the founding members or founding organizations of Asia Pacific Institutes for Broadcasting Development, right? So there are total 26 government member countries, including India, right? So AIDB, that is Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development, it has total 26 government members countries, and India is part of it, right? The function, what is the function of AIDB? To establish inter-regional links and cooperation for media communication and development, right? So this is all about the UNESCO, and one of the initiative of UNESCO, that is Asia Pacific Institution for Broadcasting Development, that is AIBD. The next important arm of United Nations is United Nations Human Rights Commission. Again, very, very important. There has been question asked in the prelims examination related to UNHRC as well. All right. So what is the news recently? So basically, UNHRC, that is United Nations Human Rights Council, arm is a arm or part created by United Nations General Assembly, right, of 193 countries. So recently there are 15 members of General Assembly. They are elected to the Human Rights Councils, right? There are 15 members. They are elected as the Human Rights Councils, right? But the Russia, which was ousted from UNHRC after it invaded Ukraine, was refused to join the UNHRC, right? Even China, Pakistan, and etc. These are the countries. They are considered to be the highly human right violative countries. They are still part of UNHRC, that is United Nations Human Rights Commission, but Russia was also part of it before it invaded Ukraine, right? Later it was ousted by the United Nations General Assembly when it invaded Ukraine, right? So recently there was a request from Russia to rejoin the United Nations HRC, but United Nations General Assembly, they have refused the Russia's request to join the United Nations Human Rights Commission, right? Now let's see why UNHRC is very, very important and Russia wants to join it. So it is headquartered in Geneva, that is Switzerland, right? So again, it was created by United Nations General Assembly in 2006, right? So it is the principal intergovernmental body within the UN for strengthening the promotion and protection of human rights. The main aim is to promote and protect the human rights around the globe. So there are 47 members of United Nations Human Rights Councils, right? Including India. India is also member of UNHRC. So this is the bifurcation of all the 47 member nations of United Nations HRC. 13 they come from African group. That again 13 more they come from Asian group. 6 belongs to Eastern Europe. The 8 come from Latin America and Caribbean including, and remaining seven they come from the Western Europe, and this combinedly they become 47 member countries of United Nations Human Rights Councils. All right. So they are chosen on the basis of equitable geographic distribution, right? So Africa, Asia, they belong to a major chunk of global geography, right? And hence they get a majority of representation of 30 nations each, right? They are elected on the basis of votes, right? Voting in United Nations General Assembly, right? So the tenure of the members countries, they serve for a period of 3 years and are not eligible for immediate re-election after serving 2 consecutive years, right? So let's say if India serves for 2 consecutive years, India might not get re-elected immediately, right? May get again re-elected after a year or another term, but it will not get re-elected immediately. All right. So some of the key information related to United Nations Human Rights Council is that it can also establish international commission for inquiry and fact finding mission, right? So that the mission can ensure that there is a human right uh, violation is not there in any country or nation, right? That is why the United Nation HRC can establish this particular mission, so that to check the uh, human rights are intact, intact. All right. So council adopted an institution building package in 2007. So United Nations HRC came into force in 2006, and just after 1 year in 2007 they have come up with institution building package, right, to formulate the procedures and mechanism for UNHRC, that is human right councils, right? United Nations human right councils. The decision of the councils are not legally binding. They are not legally binding, but why countries, they consider it very important to join the United Nations HRC? Because it shows the credibility of the nation that if they are part of United Nations HRC, the condition of human rights in their countries are well intact, right? But majority of the time that is not the case. So what are some of the important treatises related to human rights? All right. So there is one very famous treatise known as Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All right. So um, it is also a declaration of United Nations General Assembly. It was basically adopted on December 10, 1945. All right. So recently in 2023, there was a 75th anniversary of UDHR, that is Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All right. So UN has celebrated 75 anniversary of UDHR. So what are some of the key features of Universal Declaration of on Human Rights? It declares that human rights are universal, all right, to be enjoyed by all people, no matter who they are or where they live, right? So it is basically, as the name suggests, it is Universal Declaration on Human Rights. That is why they also promote the idea that human rights are universal, irrespective of the geographical location of the people, where they live, how they live, right? There, if there is a human rights, it will be um, obligatory to each and everyone, right? So Universal Declaration on Human Rights, together with the following international covenants, make the International Bill of Human Rights. So there is an International Bill of Human Rights. So it basically have a three important covenants or law. The first one is Universal Declaration on Human Rights. The second important covenant is International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the third important right is the International Covenant of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. Combining all these three declarations together, all these three covenants together, the International Bill of Human Rights are formulated. All right. So there can be a direct question: which three bill or covenant make up as International Bill of Human Rights? So remember, it is Universal Declaration of Human Rights, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, right? So some of the rights, important rights under Universal Declaration of Human Rights are: all human beings are born free and equal in the dignity and rights. No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. No one shall be subjected to torture. Equal before the law, right? No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. So economic, social, and cultural rights, such as right to social security, health, and adequate housing, must be made available to all. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, that is right to privacy, basically. So these are some of the framework we can consider, which also divides our fundamental rights, right? So these are some of the universal rights of the globe or the world, which is basically the rights under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The second important so there is an important fact given here: India and Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So right, so India was a signatory to Universal Declaration of Human Rights and made many contribution towards the formation of UDHR, right? So when UDHR, that is Universal Declaration of Human Rights, were getting formulated, India played a contributory role in the formulation of UDHR, right? So various themes, India made contribution on various themes like women rights, non-discrimination, freedom of movement, right to work, secularism, and etc. And few of the great personalities and leaders from our country like Hansa Mehta, she was also a member of Constituent Assembly, M.R. Masani, Lakshmi Menon, they were the representatives of India in Universal Declaration of Human Rights, right? And Hansa Mehta made a important contribution by suggesting an alteration which initially was all men are born free and equal. Hansa Mehta altered that to all humans, right? From all men to all humans being are born free and equal, right? So this is more gender inclusive. Here, men, all men are born free and equal, right? Non-inclusive. But here, all humans, including all, right? Male, female, trans, and queer, and etc. and etc. Right? So this is what is the contribution which was made by Hansa Mehta, which is very, very important, and it is prescribed in Article 1 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And another such important declaration is Vienna Declaration and Program of Action. All right, so these are the separate declaration on human rights in contrast to United Nations Human Rights Council, right? So we have seen Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and one another important declaration is Vienna Declaration and Program of Action. So the important event is that 2023 marked as the 30th anniversary of Vienna Declaration and Program of Action, right? So VDPA, our Human Rights Declaration, adopted at the World Conference on Human Rights in 1993 in Vienna, Austria. It paved a common plan for the establishment of Office of the High Commissioner of for Human Rights, right? So basic aim is to establish the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights, so to ensure that there is no human rights violation anywhere. So some of the other important developments related to the UN, let's have a look of the some of the other important developments. The next important development is United Nations peacekeeping. All right, so recently there was a 75th anniversary of the beginning of UN peacekeeping was celebrated. All right, 75th anniversary, and on this occasion there was a ceremony held to posthumously award the dag Hammarskjöld medal to peacekeepers who died in 2022, right? So there is a award known as dag Hammarskjöld medal which has been awarded to the peacekeepers who have died in 2022, right? So what is the genesis of United Nations peacekeeping? All right, so it was formally created in 1992 as the Department of Peacekeeping Operations, right? Department of Peacekeeping Operations, it was created, then later converted into United Nations Peacekeeping Force, right? So what are some of the important aims, right? So what are the important aim of United Nations peacekeeping? So it is basically dedicated to assisting the member states and secretary general in their efforts to maintain international peace and security, right? So it is basically a assisting the member states and the secretary general in their efforts to maintain international peace and security. How do they do that? What are the functions? Basically, they provide political and executive direction to the United Nations peacekeeping operations around the world and maintains contract with the Security Council troops and financial contributors, right? And what it has three main offices, namely Rule of Law and Security Institution, Office of Military Affairs and Policy, and Evaluation and Training Division, right? So question can be asked that the Rule of Law and Security Institution, Office of Military Affairs and Policy, Evaluation and Training Division belongs to which organization? So basically United Nations peacekeeping uh, force, right? Now let's see some of the important contributions of India to United Nations peacekeeping, right? So India is the third largest troop contributor. So just to give you an idea, United Nations peacekeeping, they basically have a force, right? A troop force, a regiment of force, a regiment of force which get deployed in the countries where there is a various issues such as civil stripes, some disasters, then etc and etc, right? So they deploy the force of United Nations peacekeeping in order to ensure that there is a international peace and security and the safeguarding of human rights in those countries, right? So in that particular troop, India is the largest contributor with 6,073 personnel deployed in 8 out of 13 active missions, right? So India is the first country to contribute to the trust fund on sexual exploitation and abuse set up in 2016. All right. So the first country to deploy an all women contingent in 2017. So in United Nations peacekeeping force, there was one of the very important challenge regarding these sexual abuses of the women soldiers, they who are deployed under United Nations peacekeeping, right? So United Nations has come up with a fund so that to give required training to the women regiment in order to self defense against the various exploitations happening on the ground, right? So India was the first country to contribute to that particular trust fund. All right. So India also was the first country to deploy all women contingent in 2017, right? And especially one corps from Jammu and Kashmir known as Shakti Devi, right? By name Shakti Devi. She was the first corps, a female corps deployed in Afghanistan. For her work, she was awarded International Female Police Peacekeeper Award for her work in remarkable work in the Afghanistan. So this was all about United Nations peacekeeping and United Nations peacekeeping force. Now let's see about United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, that is ESCAP. UN ESCAP, right? What is UN ESCAP? The full form is United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, right? So basically they focus on sustainable finance, right? Bridging the gap in Asia and the Pacific report. It is a report which has been launched by UN ESCAP, that is Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. So the report is known as Bridging the Gap in Asia and the Pacific report, launched by UN ESCAP, right? So what is the genesis? It was established in 1947 under the Economic and Social Council of United Nations, which is one among the 6 organ of UN, right? As United Nations Economic Commission for Asia and Far East, right? It was initially e-cafe, right? Then it was converted to Economic and Social Commission for Asia Pacific, right? E-cafe to ISCAP, which is currently right now. It is headquartered in Bangkok, that is Thailand. It is one of the 5 regional commission of United Nations. So what are the 5 regional commissions? Important again: Economic Commission for Africa, then there is an Economic Commission for Latin America and Caribbean, Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, then Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia, Economic Commission for Europe at whole, right? So these are some of the regional commission of the UN. What are the functions of UN ESCAP? So basically it supports inclusive and sustainable development in region, by generating action oriented knowledge, right? Practical knowledge or action oriented knowledge, and by providing technical assistance and capacity building services in support of national development objectives and regional agreements. So this is how the UN ESCAP functions, right? So membership, there are total 53 member states. India is part of UN ESCAP, right? And 9 associate members. So some of the important reports by UN ESCAP is SDG Progress Assessment Report, Sustainable Development Goal Progress Assessment Report, and Asia Pacific Disaster Report. It is also published by the UN ESCAP, that is Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. The next one is UN Citral. What is UN Citral? United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, right? Commission on International Trade Law. United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, right? So India recently hosted a inaugural UNICITRAL South Asia conference, right? So under UNICITRAL, there is a South Asia wing, right? So India inaugurals, right? This is the inaugural meeting which was hosted by India under UN Citral, right? So, what is the genesis? United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. It was established in the year 1966. Is a subsidiary body of General Assembly of the UN with a mandate for further harmonization and unification of law of international trade, right? So the main agenda of the UN Citral is to harmonize and unify the law on international trade so that there is a harmony in the international trade and smooth functioning of the international vessels, right? So it basically composed of 70 member states elected by the General Assembly. Members are elected for the terms of 6 years. So the duration of the membership is the 6 year, and India is a member till 28, right? Unicitral is not a part of WTO. So most of the time we tend to confuse between Unicitral and WTO. United Nations Commission on International Trade Law is not a part of World Trade Organization. The major difference between Unicitral and WTO is that United World Trade Organization, that is WTO, basically deals with trade related policies issues, right? Trade related policy issue between the state, whereas unicitral deals with laws applicable to the private parties, right? Private parties engaged in the international trade, so that to ensure there, if there is a arbitration, if there is a arbitration, the arbitrators of the private individual, they abide by the laws in the unicitral um, or the unilateral convention. All right, so this is the difference. So WTO basically deals with the trade policy issue. Unilateral deals with law applicable to the private parties in international transaction and not involved with the state to state issues. Unilateral does not involve in state to state issues. It mainly confines to the private individual. It is the difference between the unilateral and the WTO. The next important thing is United Nations Capital Development Fund, right? UNCDF. What is UNCDF and what is the importance? So recently the arm under Niti Aayog known as Atal Innovation Mission, right? AIM, Atal Innovation Mission under Niti Aayog, and United Nations Capital Development Fund, that is UNCDF, they have jointly released a white paper report on agri tech innovation in India, agriculture technology innovation in India, right? So Niti Aayog and UNCDF, they have jointly launched a white paper report on agri-tech innovation in India, right? So what is the UNCDF? It is a UN's flagship catalytic financing entity for world list developed countries, right? So catalytic finance entity, so as to provide finances to the major program in the list developed countries, right? So it is an autonomous voluntary funded UN organization. Autonomous voluntary funded in the case, if people want to, if there are 193 members of United Nations, if they want to contribute towards their fund, they can. It is not mandatory, right? It is voluntary in nature and affiliated with UN Development Program, right? It was created in 1966 by United Nations General Assembly. So this is what is sufficient for us in regards with United Nations Capital Development Fund. The next one is Global Crisis Response Group. All right. So Global Crisis Response Group. So India has joined United Nations Global Crisis Response Group. This is important fact whether India is a part of UNGCRG or not. That is Global Crisis Response Group or not. So India has recently joined United Nations Global Crisis Response Group. So Global Crisis Response Group was set up by the United Nations Secretary General, right? Secretary General in 2022 to address urgent and critical global issues about interlinked crisis in food security, energy, finance, and to contribute an international response, right? So there was a major issue of food security during the Russia Ukraine crisis, right? So that is why the UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, he have set up a global crisis response group, of which India is a part, right, in order to solve the issues like interlinked crisis of food security, energy, finance, and coordinate an international response, right? So it is basically overseen by a group known as champion group, right? So there is a champion group of UN, right, which basically consists of head of the state and the government of Bangladesh, Barbados, Denmark, Germany, Indonesia, and Senegal, right? So there are 6 countries which are part of champion groups, and head of the this particular 6 countries, they overlook or oversee the functioning of the global crisis response group of the United Nations. So that is what is the UN Global Crisis Response Group and the champion groups which oversee the functioning, and India is a part of United Nations Global Crisis Response Group. All right. So the next important thing for us is United Nations Statistical Commission. So again, India has been elected to the United Nations Statistical Commission for 4-year term beginning uh, on January 1st, 2024, right? So what is the significance of United Nations Statistical Commission? So again, it is headquartered in New York, USA, where the UN is also headquartered. It was established in 1947 and is the highest body of global statistical system, bringing together chief statisticians from member states from around the world, right? So if there are 193 countries, so the chief or the most important statistician of all the member countries, they all will uh, be part of United Nations Statistical Commission, all right, to oversee the work of United Nations Statistics Division, and is a functional commission of UN Economic and Social Council, right? So basically, there are a lot of research that is being taken into consideration by United Nations, right? So United Nations Statistical Commission is responsible for undertaking all such data and research, right? So it is basically a functional commission under United Nations Economic and Social Council. That is one of the important organ of United Nation. All right. So member it basically consists of 24 members country of UN elected by United Nation United Nation Statistical Commission, all right, on a basis of equitable geographical distribution, and basic term is 4 year. Not very important for us, just have the idea that India is a member of United Nations Statistical Commission headquartered in New York, all right. The next one is United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, that is UNCTAD. All right. So recently, a report that is Trade and Development Report 2023 was released by United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. What are the important function of UNCTAD? Basically, it UNCTAD, that is United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. It basically helps developing countries, participate more equitably in global economy, all right, supports developing countries efforts to use trade, investment, finance, and technology as a vehicle for inclusive and sustainable development, right? So it basically supports developing countries with trade, investment, finance, and technology as a vehicle for inclusive and sustainable development. There are 195 member states. India is also a member of UN Conference on Trade and Development. Some important reports by UN Conference on Trade and Development are Trade and Development Report, all right, Trade and Development Report, World Investment Report, the List Developed Countries Report, Economic Development in Africa Report, Digital Economy Report, and Technology and Innovation Report. So these are some of the important report by United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. So remember the news that there was a report known as Trade and Development Report. It was released by United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, right? So this is important. The next one is Food and Agriculture Organization. Very, very important. Very, very important. The institution can be asked directly with the questions related to the human geography and agriculture as well. All right. So there is a report known as Food Outlook Report. It is a biannual report, right? So which basically talked about the forecast of production, trade, utilization, and stock level across the world major foodstuffs, right? Basis foodstuffs. So Food Outlook Report, it is basically a report released by Food and Agriculture Organization. Remember this, right? So it is founded in 1945, a specialized agency of United Nations, right? It basically aims to defeat hunger, right? It basically aims to defeat global hunger. Where it is based? It is based in Rome, that is Italy, right? There are total 194 member countries. India is part of Food and Agriculture Organization and European Union. All right. So what are the major goals of Food and Agriculture Organization? So they basically aims at eradication of hunger, right? Because Food and Agriculture Organization basic aim is to provide food security and malnutrition. They basically focus on elimination of poverty and driving forward of economic and social progress for all, and sustainable management and utilization of natural resources, including land, water, air, climate, and genetic resources. Some of the important flagship reports by Food and Agriculture Organizations are the State of Food Security and Nutrition, right? So this is the report also released by FAO. The second one is the State of Food and Agriculture report. The third one is the State of the World's Forest report. The fourth one is the Hunger Map, and the fifth one is Codex, uh, that is Alimentarius Commission, or SAC, that is the Implement International Food Standards, right? So there are two initiatives, that is Codex and the uh, CAC, to implement the international food standards, right? So few important information related to Food and Agriculture Organization. So World Food Day, it is celebrated on 16th of October, right? It basically marks the anniversary of the founding of the FAO, right? So on 16th of October, the FAO was also established. That is why we celebrate World Food Day on 16th of October. So FAO works closely with World Food Program, right? That is WFP, and the International Fund for Agriculture Development, that is IFAD, in order to ensure that there is a equitable distribution of food around the globe, right? The next important thing is International Coffee Organization, that is ICO. The most important news is that there is a fifth World Coffee Conference which was held in Cochin by International Coffee Organization, right? And it was hosted in India, hosted in the city of Cochin, being held for the first time in Asian coffee producing country, right? So it is the first time in which the fifth World Coffee Conference was held, right? And it is the first time that it was held in Asian coffee producing country. All right. So what is the genesis? It was established in 1963, all right, under the aegis of United Nations, and following the approval of first international coffee agreement in 1962, right? So there was international coffee agreement which was signed by in the year 1962, and under this particular agreement the International Coffee Organization was established in the year 1963. So where was the conference held in our country? It was basically held in Bangalore. Remember the city name? It was Bangalore, friends, right? It was held in Bangalore. Not very important, but just have a mind of it, right? So it represents 93% of world coffee production and 63% of consumption, right? So the member countries, they combinedly contribute 93% of world coffee production and 63% cooperation. What are the objectives? The objective is to strengthen the global coffee sector, right? Because coffee is one of the very important uh, drink of the world, right? That is why the International Coffee Organization. It ensures the strengthening of the global coffee sector. It promotes sustainable expansion in market-based environment for the benefit of actors of. It is not very important. Just know the fact that fifth World Coffee Conference was held in India, which was basically conducted by International Coffee Organization. All right, and the last topic for today is L69 grouping. Right. So what is L69 groupings? Very, very important, friend, especially for our India context, right? So L69 grouping in a meeting hosted by India called for reform of UNSA, right? So these are basically the groupings of country who are basically pro reform of UNSA, that is United Nations Security Council. So L69 is a pro reform grouping that includes developing countries from Africa, Latin America, and Caribbean, Asia, and the Pacific, right? So these are the region of the world which basically stand together as an L69 grouping in order to promote the reform of United Nations Security Council. The countries were united by a common desire to achieve comprehensive reform of United Nations Security Council and strengthen multilateralism, right? So we know how the United Nations Security Council is mainly limited to the P5 member countries, right? The P5 permanent five member countries. Leave a comment like name of the countries who are part of P5, that is permanent five members countries, right? So it will also help you in revision. So leave in the comment section which are the member countries of P5. आप सबको बताना है ये, all right? So there is a grouping known as L69 which are basically standing in order to promote the idea of United Nations Security Council reform so as to make UNSC more inclusive and more representative of the countries around the world, right? So India is a leading country in L69 grouping. So remember this. So with this, we are done with today's first part of PT365 of International Friends. I'm hoping that you guys are liking this particular lecture, and if you do so, then please ensure to subscribe the channel, that is Executive IAS, and also like the video. If you have any thought, any question in the comment, then any question in the mind, then please ensure to leave that in the comment section. We will give it a read and also come back with a valuable feedback. So until very next time, this is your friend, host and guide, Naman, signing off. Keep watching, keep learning with Executive IAS.